Hi, I'm Teresa Duncan.
And I'm Kevin Henry.
Welcome to Chew on This.
We are excited to bring you our views of current topics in the dental industry and put a little different spin on them, giving you something to chew on.
If you need to jump off, be sure to check the show notes for links as well as how to get in touch with us.
And now, let's give you something to chew on.
And we are back with another edition of Chew on This. K-Dog, what's up?
Teresa Duncan, the melodious tones, it is time to have some fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. So we are ready to chew on this, and I am so glad to not sound like a man. I'm just going to tell you that because I've had the crud. I know it's tough. Sometimes it happens, but I've had the crud, and I was out for a very long time, and I was shocked by how out I was. So it's actually nice to hear my voice not full of bad timber. Do you know what I mean?
You were singing lower than I usually do, and I was getting very jealous. It's good to hear you hitting those high notes again.
I know. Norman didn't even recognize me on the phone one time. He's like, "Who is this?" I was like, "It's your wife."
You know who this is.
All right. We got stories for you people. So what's going on?
So let's start with the endo side of our world. How about that? We love our specialties here. And I thought it was very interesting. The American Association of Endodontists came out with a statement. And the statement was basically saying that it was almost chastising their fellow dentists out there who were extracting healthy, treatable teeth in favor of dental implants.
Really?
And I thought this was a very interesting roll of the dice from the AAE to come out and say, we are so implant focused in today's dental society that maybe we need to take a step back to what we promised we would do. And I want to read this to make sure that I get this right. Our mission is to preserve natural teeth whenever possible, and we strongly condemn any approach that prioritizes profit over the long-term health and well-being of patients. And so when I first saw this, they sent it to Dr. Bicuspid and asked us to publish it as part of an op-ed. But I was like, wow, they are not kidding around with this. And good for them for reminding all of us in the dental industry that patients should always come first, not the profits.
Right. Interesting. Endodontists, those are the root canal people.
Absolutely.
So they love a good root canal, and root canals have become actually really problematic over the years, not because they're not having problems, it's the science, right? So just a thing to back this up is that when I first started assisting, it was very common for many people to do upper molar root canals in the office, like general dentists, right? And there was always this thing where like the fourth canal, because most teeth, they've got the 3 canals, and in the back, sometimes you've got 4, right? The upper in the back. And fourth canals were like, wow, I found a fourth canal. Well, then studies started coming out where most of those teeth have 4 canals. It's just that with the technology we had in previously, like you just never saw it, or it was so calcified, whatever. So then it started coming out that a ton of those have 4 canals. And then that's when general dentists were like, wait a second, the liability is there. And so there started to be a shift of general dentists now not doing those upper molars and referring them out. So endodontists were like, oh, good. Finally, they realized like, we should be doing this. Plus, these poor endodontists, I actually feel for them because I feel like they're always like, hey, we're still here. The implant craze that came along was in direct competition. So remove a tooth, save a tooth. They're in complete opposition, right? I thought they had kind of were winning that war, but it sounds like it's not happening.
And I think it's really interesting to look at, especially with the pandemic, how many specialties were brought back in-house. You mentioned those referrals. There were a lot of dentists out there that all of a sudden were like, well, I can do that in here instead and make some more money. I can do that in here and not lose this patient to another practitioner.
Sure.
And I think the further we get away from that pandemic, the more that people are like, well, I can keep that patient in here, but I can offer them this instead of that. And I think that that's where the mindset has become. And all of a sudden the specialists are like, not only are we losing potential patients, but we're also losing why we all got into this in the first place. And again, it's how much of that can you actually save instead of just going, nope, pulling it out and putting in something new.
I feel like I've had a front row seat to this for a little bit because, I started out speaking actually with the International Congress of Oral Implantologists and their
Absolutely.
auxiliary course.
Remember?
Good memories of those meetings,
Good
right? And they're
memories.
still going. They're still going. So if you're an implant focused practice, not a bad place to go and get your education. We'll put that in the show notes. The auxiliary section of it too. The ICOI, of course, huge international organization. But I remember going in when I wasn't speaking, going in onto the doctor side and listening to classes, and you would have periodontists upset implantologists because yanking teeth, right? Then the endodontists would get upset for the same thing. And you would have in general sessions people saying, why didn't you try to save the tooth instead of, and they would have these conversations, which I always thought was fascinating because it's not fun to watch two office managers fight, but it is sometimes fun to watch two specialists go at each other. So just going to
Just
say,
saying.
just saying. And
Just throwing it
then
out.
do you remember Carl Misch, Dr. Carl Misch,
Absolutely.
legend in the implant field,
Absolutely.
trailblazer? He would come in and he would say things like, I just remember hearing this and my jaw dropped. The first time he said, why are we spending so much time restoring this tooth over and over again? We're basically raping the tooth. And he would say, raping the tooth. And he said, why don't we take out that bad tooth and put implants in and restore and everything? And I just remember going, holy, first of all, you just don't hear that. And
Yeah.
then doctors would hear that and go nuts. So there was always something there. Going back to the statement that was put out, I guess they're seeing and hearing from their members that referring dentists are slowing down in the referrals and just choosing to extract and do all on fours or all on sixes. They've exploded in popularity. Do you think that's what's driving this too?
I think that's part of it. I absolutely do. I've said for years, working with a background in dental economics, that you have to treat your practice like a business. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people are finally starting to see it's a business, but that's where you also get into the profitability side of things. And there was one part of this statement from the AE that I thought was very interesting as well. And I just want to read this to make sure I get this right. We urge patients to seek second opinions and to be fully informed before agreeing to any irreversible dental procedure.
Ooh.
And when you start talking about second opinions, that's kind of the third wall almost,
Mm-hmm.
as we say. That's really not something you talk about in dentistry. You're supposed to be able to trust your practitioner, trust your dentist to be doing the best thing for you. But AAE is saying that may not always be the case, patients. Just be informed. And so I thought this is a very interesting line in the sand that's being drawn here.
Very interesting. I really love the AAE. I'll just say
Yes.
that right now. I've spoken for them, speaking for them again in 25. They're very progressive. And what has been really good about that is that technology has helped them be progressive. So, yes, in the past, even like there was a fracture, like a lot of times you had to just, get rid of it. But depending on the fracture, like now they have the ability to truly save the teeth. And
Yeah.
so I think they've honed in on what really is the truth, where you don't have to go to do this, what we call herodontics, is what they used to call it, like herodontics, like a
Yep.
hero trying to save everything. Now it's just easier to pull and place an implant. And one of the other things, too, just a little behind the scenes gossip, is there were certain implant companies that were very hammered by endodontists because part of their marketing was, why save the tooth? Give them the best natural thing. And
Right.
endodontists were like, whoa. But then, do you remember back in the day, Kevin, endodontists actually started placing implants too? So
I
they
do
place
remember that.
implants too. And that's when they started hearing like the same sales pitches that everybody else was getting. And they were like, what the heck? So this is interesting. This is still something that's going on between the industries.
Yeah, and I feel like that it's never gotten resolved. I feel like it's just moved into a new chapter of the whole grumbling against each other. But I do think that this is a very strong stance, and it's absolutely something that I'm going to be watching at Dr. Bicuspid about what kind of
Mhm.
response is there. Because again, this is a strong enough statement that I think it's going to warrant a response from AID, from somebody who's going to say,
Mhm.
this, no, implants are all right, and here's why. So I'm really curious to see what the next step's going to be.
Well, and I think one of the real indicators is what becomes standard of care,
Yes.
because implants are the accepted method of replacing a tooth. Okay, so that is standard of care for replacing a missing tooth. But I don't think there's anything about standard of care of here's a tooth, which one do you do? Because that would be a very interesting thing. The studies show if we had tried to save this tooth, it would have been worse. Then you've got implant people going, wait, well, so you're saying you should have taken it in the first place?
Right.
That's going to be a mess. So,
And I think there's the other side that, you and I both know that anytime that you put a foreign object into the body, it's not always
mhm,
accepted. There are
right.
those implant failures and things. So it's a very interesting line to walk either way. And if you
Yeah.
choose to do that, you have to really be good and knowledgeable, and your team has to be as well about implant maintenance and everything else that goes along with it.
I'm so glad you said that because I think what a lot of doctors focus on is being really good at the implant. And I hear often from hygienists that they don't get enough training on cleaning implants and care of implants.
Good
And
point.
so we got to close the loop on
Completely
that.
agree.
Many people in my coding classes, my insurance classes, don't even realize that there's a different protocol, like you can't use certain instruments and all of that. Like that's a shock to them. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of post implant that needs to happen. But as somebody who unfortunately had to have a root canal once because of reasons, I was very distressed. But I will say that endodontist is, to me, he walks on water because when you walk into an office in pain and you walk out not in pain,
Yeah.
like, I don't care. Like, I love you.
And,
You know?
and honestly, if that's your sole focus and you're that good at it and you've taken courses to be that good at it, I'm going to put my trust into you. Absolutely.
Yeah, for
No doubt.
sure. But I will say, when I met him because he's local to me, obviously, and I met him at a study club I was speaking at, and I said, you're in all my classes, and he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, because my mouth is actually really small. Like if you do the impression trays, it's small. I said, somehow you managed to fit your whole fist into my mouth when you were working on it. And he was like, oh, Teresa, that's not something you should say. And I was like, I'm just saying,
Just throw
your
it out.
whole fist in my mouth. Like I was even surprised. Like I thought somehow you had unhinged it or something. So we had a good time laughing
Good
about
party
that.
trick. Hey.
Right? Like I didn't know. I'm part, what is it? Snake. I'm part snake. I didn't know. Right? So a little scaly over here. All right. So anything else about the endodontist, the
No.
hopping mad endodontist?
I mean, like I said, I'm waiting to see what happens. And I'm also waiting to see how you tie your story into this because I'm sure there's a nice connection coming here.
There's a very good connection. So you went with the American Association of
Of course.
Endodontists, and I had a little wanderlust. So we got into our little car that we
Yay.
have, and that flies apparently, and we're going to go to Albania. Have you ever been
Ah,
to Albania?
I have not, but I remember the Cheers line about Albania.
What is the
You
Cheers line? I don't know the
so,
Cheers line.
so, oh gosh. So there was an
Cheers is a
episode.
sitcom.
Yes.
Younger people, Cheers is a sitcom. Very funny.
So Sam Malone, former professional pitcher who runs the bar, he has to take his high school GED because apparently he never graduated from high school. And so Coach, the other bartender, is helping him study, and they come up with a song about Albania to help him remember.
Oh, I did not know
Yes.
this.
So may I just share it with you? Would you
Yes.
mind? It's
Oh,
very
you know
short.
the
It's
song.
very. I do. It is
Oh my
ingrained in
gosh.
my head. This is
We must link this so
so.
people can sing
Yes.
along. Go ahead.
Well, Albania, you border on the Adriatic. Your climate is mostly mountainous, and your main export is corn. That's the whole
I
song. I am
I
not.
love this because not only were you musical in a weird way, you were musical but informative. I did not know that
See
corn was their huge
that
export. Look
that
at
well, it
this.
was at least at the time of Cheers. So
Wow.
there you go.
Okay.
See, I didn't
Okay.
spring that on you in the pre-show. I wanted to see what you thought.
Well, and let me just say that I also did not know that it was considered Europe's North Korea at one point. Did you know this?
I did not realize that. That's interesting.
I'm telling you, people do not realize how much we educate on this show.
That's not a
All
tag
right.
you want. I mean, it's not. I mean, let's
Right?
be
It
honest.
was a cloistered communist dictatorship in the
Wow.
past. So now it attracts millions of tourists a year and a growing portion coming in search of, and this is where I'm going to say that this is going to attract you as a listener, Kevin, that a growing portion came in search of a radiant smile, luscious lips, or better breasts.
Oh,
Did that grab your attention?
I just am suddenly very all ears here. Yes.
Okay, I figured. Okay, not all eyes, just all ears. Listen to
You
you.
know.
All right, so this doctor, Dr. Gremy, heads a dental clinic. I don't know if that's a woman or a man. I can't tell. Oh,
Oh,
his clinic. So it's a man. I just can't tell by the name. Dr. Gremy says, I like this. I prefer to talk about happiness tourism, not medical tourism. I
oh,
like that. Okay.
okay.
So the reason why Albania has skyrocketed in popularity with people seeking medical tourism is that even Italian, French, Belgium, Italy have all gone up in costs as well. So Albania, being a lower cost alternative, is now a place where people are going. Now, there was another country besides Turkey, because we've done a lot on Turkey, but there was
Yeah.
another country that war torn but beautiful. And I can't remember the name of it, but everybody would go there. They have beautiful beaches, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it was war torn, not Serbia, but oh
Oh,
gosh.
that's
Anyway, so
difficult.
there's another country, but also Botox is banned in Albania. Did you know that? And I'm
I
trying
did
to
not
figure
know
out why, and
that.
I can't figure out why. But here's the thing: this one person, Stefan Pielat, he and his brother are from the south of France, beautiful area, south of France. My
Okay.
godmother lives in the south of
Oh,
France. Did you know
nice.
that?
I did
Very
not.
beautiful. Her and the south of France. Okay. So have long had dental problems, including tooth loss that pushed him to seek a complex dental implant procedure.
Ah,
So tooth loss. So the endodontist can't get mad because teeth are gone already, right? So he went to an initial visit in August to tour the facilities. Okay, so you can just go and tour the facility. So US dollars, it would have cost him about $54,000, all right, in France. And it cost him, okay, so 50,000 euros, which is about 54,000, and it goes to just 13,500 euros in Albania. It looks like it's going to be about $15,000. Not a small amount, but more affordable than the 50,000 euros. And so I just want to show you real quick here.
please.
And I'm going to share my screen because I want to make one observation here. And I wonder if you're going to see what I see. Okay. So if you take a look at that x ray, Kevin, what I see is a lot of bone loss.
Yeah.
I'm seeing perio disease. And obviously, hip is not an issue because the name's there and he's like fine with the picture being shown. There's a lot of missing teeth. If you look at this tooth on the bottom that the guy's
Yeah.
pointing to, that's barely holding on. Okay. If you look at it, there's obviously tooth has got to be loose at this point. There's no way. I mean, it's below, there's a furcation there, lots of bone loss, lots of missing teeth, lots of shifting teeth. So I'm going to guess that they're doing removals all on fours, whatever, all on sixes, but scaling and root planing, if they want to save the teeth, would be a lot of money as well. So I'm looking at the case. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but in America, all of that is going to be more than 54,000.
Absolutely.
So the 54,000 estimate that he got in France, probably conservative. All
I would
right.
think so. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff there.
There's a
Wow.
lot of stuff there. I mean, just look at how many missing teeth he's already got. And I see a lot. And if you look at the guy's wrist, you can see the teeth there. There's teeth missing there. And like you can see the teeth right above his wrist, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you on audio, what you're looking at, it's a pan. And when you see pans where the bone level is down below the pulp of the tooth, obviously there's a lot of bone loss. The gums are just basically holding those teeth in place, right? And listeners, there's a ton of space between the teeth. Like there's no margins, there's margins all around almost each tooth.
I got to be honest. When I first saw that, I thought that it had already been like scaled down to the nubs to put veneers on or something like that. I mean, that's
Mm-mm,
wow.
mm-mm. Yeah. So this is the results of the teeth scan, is what he's explaining, not necessarily the work that they're doing. Okay. So I understand though why people go because say in America that would have been $60,000. Now I'm not saying go to Albania or go anywhere. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it costs a lot of money to get your teeth repaired if you don't take care of them. That's it,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay, so let me continue with this story. And then I'm curious to hear your thoughts too, because his doctor in France, the doctor in France told another lady, Natalia Gangloff, was told about a TV documentary about medical tourism in Albania. So another doctor in France was saying that. And she paid 15,000 euros less to have her teeth done compared to what she would have spent in France. And so after extractions and implants, okay, so the endodontist would get mad.
There you go.
She went back. And so her job, it's important to have beautiful teeth and a good hairdo, is what she said. She immediately changed her Facebook profile picture to show off her new pearly whites. It really interesting to me that our world is so focused on beautiful smiles and all of that. And the majority of people in the world don't have picture perfect Hollywood Miley Cyrus
No.
smiles.
No.
We should be putting the emphasis on health, not the fact that your teeth are rocking white. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's
I
how
mean,
I feel.
you brought up whenever you saw the X-ray that there's perio, there's all sorts of things going on there, and so many of our listeners know that those patients come into the practice asking for whitening, and they're ignoring the bleeding gums and everything else that's
Mm,
going on. And then they get
Mm-hmm.
mad whenever we say we've got to tackle the perio before anything cosmetic, and they walk out of the practice. So I'm truly
Right.
curious whenever it comes to medical tourism, do they address the problems with the foundation of the house before they put the new coat of paint on it?
You know, it might be why if you go overseas for medical tourism, so if you yank the tooth, you
Sure.
don't have this long period of time to treat the gum disease and to treat the tooth. If you yank it, all of that is mitigated if there were any legal issues, right?
Yeah.
Because you're yanking the tooth, you're going to restore it.
Right.
But if you were going to own them from getting them healthy gum wise, that's a long period of time. And if you're tourist, if you're being a tourist, you're not there for a long period of time.
That was the other thing I was going to say is that's always been any kind of nerve that I've had with any kind of procedure is if I fly to Albania or Mexico or anywhere else to
Mm-hmm.
have this done, and then I'm back here in Colorado and I start having issues, what's my local dentist going to do? Knowing
Right.
that I went south or east to have this done instead of coming to him or her. I think that is a big consideration to think about is the whole what if
Mm-hmm.
game.
Yeah, who's going to fix it, right? I
Right.
mean, there's no teledentistry to Albania. Like,
No.
that's not going to help. So, this Dr. Fida is a dermatologist and university lecturer in Albania. And she said 750 to 1,000 foreign patients visit her clinic each year. She does lip injections, she does all sorts of facial services. So, she's saying that this is a huge, huge thing. A 60-year-old Italian chef from Verona, which I will support any Italian chef, let me just say that, came to
Bingo.
have her teeth done. You've gone to Verona, haven't
We
you?
got married in Verona.
Ah, look
How
at
about
that. So
that? Yes.
Romeo and
Yeah. You say
Juliet.
Verona, my heart flutters a little bit. Absolutely.
Well, you should find this 60-year-old Italian chef the next time you go and check out her teeth, right?
What lovely
So she
teeth.
went there.
Yes.
She went there to get her teeth done. And then when she got there, she said, oh, her breasts and her waist needed work. So she got the whole shebang done.
Why not?
So yeah, but I will say, you know what? I was like, okay, I understand the teeth and the lips. I had no idea the breast thing was a big thing. Only one mention of breast tourism here, so I'm so sorry, Kevin. I know that was
Breast
something you were
tourism.
waiting
You
for.
know.
I don't know. Let's do a special report on that later. I don't know. But listen to what Anna Maria said. She's an Italian from Milan. This is beautiful. Are you
Love it.
ready?
I love it.
The smile of the soul passes also through the lips.
That's fantastic.
That's
So Italian.
beautiful.
That is great.
It really is.
It's so Italian. Wow.
So, all right. So, just wanted to let you know that, you know what, endodontists in America, implantologists in America, you've got some competition from Albania.
Can I go back to one number you threw out there because it's still
Yeah.
rattling around in my head? You said
Yeah.
every year 750 to 1,000 patients go to her practice or his practice.
Her practice.
Her
Yeah.
practice in Albania.
Yep.
So if you're open 365 days a week, that's 2 to 3 you're seeing every day who aren't from Albania, but they're from somewhere else. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah. And honestly, if I'm the Albanian government and wanting to do tourism,
Sure.
I'm hopping on this,
Yeah.
right? Because tourism in most European countries is a huge part of their GDP.
You're not going to go over there and buy corn. I mean, that's a great export. We know that.
I don't know. Now that I know,
Well, I mean, it may be great corn, but that's just very interesting. So she could almost have a whole practice just around tourism and no locals.
yeah, which would be amazing because, you don't have to talk to people. You can go to the grocery store and not worry about the patient that needs to pay you, like I've had to. So, I mean, that's another story. But,
Good point.
all office managers have the story of running into the deadbeat in the grocery store.
The
So,
worst. Oh, you can afford that. Come on.
yeah. I remember going to the hockey game and being like, I know how much those seats paid. You paid for those seats because I paid and I'm sitting 3 rows in front of you. Pay your bill. Anyways, that's a different story. So, all right. So there's just all sorts of stuff going on internationally, Kevin. I'm
Another
so
stamp
glad
on
we
the
were able to
passport.
bring this.
I love it.
Yes, we have not
Love
been
it.
to Albania.
Oh, very
I
excited.
was getting a little tired of Turkey.
Well, that's all right. Albania, by the way, if you didn't know, right above Greece there. So, I mean, it's a beautiful part of the world. Yeah, let's go. It's fantastic.
Is it close to Transylvania? I still don't know where Transylvania is.
I'll have to do research to get back to you on that one. I'm not sure.
Transylvania. That's my
My
best
teeth are
Dracula.
lovely,
All right. We've lost the plot. Listeners, this is when you know it's time for Teresa and Kevin to sign off. But before we sign off, something's happening on December 12th.
We will not lose the plot on that night, I can tell you. Well, we probably will. But anyway, chew on this trends. I cannot wait to share some of the things that I just back from the Dental Trade Alliance meeting in Napa, California, with all sorts of new numbers and stats and things to throw out there at you of what the industry is looking at in 2025. And we're going to share that with you on December 12th.
I'm excited, and I will always have insurance stuff to share with you, but also just peoply stuff. Peoply stuff to share with you.
We got to hit some of our best stories.
It's absolutely. It'll be 8:00 at night Eastern on the 12th. We'll put the link in the show notes. And if you can't attend, that's fine. We'll send you the replay. And if you're listening to this after it happens, you're still going to be able to listen to the replay and get all of the notes and everything that we have attached for it. And want to thank Care Credit and Pearl, who will be sponsoring the webinar. So very, very excited about that. So K-Dog, that's it. We're done.
I'm ready to fly back to the States, and I will see you later on, my friend.
All right. Sounds good. And listeners, until next time, we do love that you spend your time with us, as always.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Chew on This. We hope you laughed and learned a little.
Check out the show notes for any links we mentioned, and don't forget to give us a rating on your podcast app. Feel free to drop us a comment on social media or by email if you have any suggestions for future topics.
We'll be back in about 2 weeks. See you then.